And hello everybody, welcome back to LFC News. Guys, we've got a shock twist that has emerged that the key figure could be making a exit this summer. Now, again, it's nothing to do with the player as such, but a key component of this football club. Let's break this down in today's video, guys, whilst also going through all the latest Liverpool news from the last 24 hours. But first, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. Now, firstly, I just want to discuss yesterday quickly. Of course, we're playing a Galatasaray tonight. Must-win game for us, let's be perfectly honest. However, Manchester City did exit the Champions League last night to Real Madrid, and Pep Guardiola actually spoke and set the record straight with regard to Jurgen Klopp. Now, he was obviously said that Real Madrid has been his biggest ever challenge. However, he said, Real Madrid have not been my biggest challenge. My biggest challenge has been Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. Maybe you in Spain, and you didn't notice. You have no idea what it's like to face Liverpool in those games. A great learning experience. So, yeah, good to see that Pep Guardiola setting the record straight. And, of course, Pep Guardiola, love-hate relationship with this guy. Snatched a lot of medals off of us, league winners' medals. But out of the Champions League. But at least, of course, he's talking highly about Jurgen Klopp. Now, let's get into this, ladies and gentlemen. This shock news emerged, actually I first saw it in January, funnily enough. However, it's getting louder and louder as we approach the summer. And I do think the summer is going to be a very, very poignant one for this football club. And there could be some, changes at the top level. There could be changes from the manager position. And there also could be changes at the player position. So, yes. Liverpool's Richard Hughes has emerged on a 3-strong shortlist to become the new sporting director at Saudi Pro League club Al Hilal. So far, there has been no contact with Liverpool from Al Hilal about Hughes and no discussion over the 46-year-old's future or indication that he might be interested in leaving. However, having said this, there was a little bit more added to this, and also stating the fact that he has emerged on a shortlist since January. And again, more reports are stating that other reports are stating that Hughes would be interested potentially in leaving. Now, this would make for a bit of a shock as I think he's 2 years now into his job, 2.5 years into his job. But funnily enough, his contract expires in 2027. So that could be something that could play a part. Also, Edwards is another person that's contract expires in the summer of 2027, and Al Hilal have also reportedly made an approach to Edwards in May last year. However, they are, of course, the 46-year-old rebuffed their interest. And yeah, there's a lot of decisions to be made because Slot's contract expires in 2027, Hughes' contract expires in 2027, and now Edwards' contract expires in 2027. But yeah, other reports are claiming different things. Now, I've got another report here again with regard to Hughes, and they actually said they quote-unquote agreed a deal. Now, again, that's obviously pie in the sky at this moment in time, but Saudi journalist Ahmed Al-Ajan claims Hughes has now agreed a deal to become the sporting director at Al Hilal and said that talks have been ongoing. But domestic media is suggesting something a little bit different and saying that no talks are currently ongoing and there's not an idea if Hughes wants to leave, but certainly watch this space with regard to this one. In other news, there was a composure to Andy Robertson's words that reflected both his experience and his understanding of the moment. Speaking ahead of Liverpool's looming Champions League encounter with Galatasaray, the left-back struck a tone that was measured, grounded, and firmly focused on the task at hand, rather than the uncertainty surrounding his own future. With his current deal approaching its expiry at the end of the season, speculation has inevitably intensified around what lies next for the Scotland international. The prospect of this being his final Champions League campaign at Anfield adds a layer of significance, not just for supporters, but for a player who has become one of the defining figures of Liverpool's modern era. Yet if the occasion carried any emotional weight, Robertson gave little indication of it publicly. Instead, he was clear in drawing a line between present priorities and future decisions. I don't think today is the day to discuss that at all, he said, addressing questions over his contract situation. 24 hours before a massive Champions League game, I don't think anyone should really be talking about their future. It was not a dismissal rooted in frustration, but rather one shaped by professionalism. Liverpool find themselves facing a demanding European test, one they must navigate after putting themselves in a difficult position. Robertson acknowledged that reality, stressing that the collective focus must remain solely on overturning that challenge. We've got such a massive game ahead of us, and my full focus is being a part of this team, trying to get through tomorrow night, he continued. We've obviously given ourselves an uphill battle, and I think full focus has to be on that. There was even a touch of self-awareness in his delivery, as he added, "I know it's a boring answer, I can only apologise for that, but in truth, it was anything but. It was the response of a senior figure who understands the weight of the occasion and the importance of shielding the dressing room from distractions at a critical juncture in the season." Behind the scenes, however, the situation remains unresolved. Robertson is one of two key players approaching the end of their contracts, alongside Ibrahim Konate, and while discussions over extensions are ongoing, no agreement has yet been reached. That lack of clarity inevitably leaves the door open to external interest and internal reflection alike. Interest has already surfaced, most notably from Tottenham during the January window. Robertson is understood to have considered the possibility of a move to North London. Those circumstances, including injuries within Liverpool's squad, ultimately led to him remaining at Anfield. That decision, however, has not definitively settled his long-term future. At 32, Robertson is entering a stage of his career where each decision carries added significance. He remains a highly respected figure within the squad, a vice-captain who continues to contribute both on and off the pitch. Yet football's cyclical nature means Liverpool must constantly assess the balance between experience and evolution, while Robertson himself must weigh stability against the potential for a new challenge. What is clear is that, should he choose to move on, there will be no shortage of interest. His pedigree, consistency and leadership qualities ensure he remains an attractive option for clubs at the highest level. Equally, Liverpool's desire to retain him suggests his importance has not diminished internally. For now, though, those conversations are firmly on hold. Robertson's stance made that unmistakably clear. The focus is on Galatasaray, on navigating a difficult European tie, and on ensuring that Liverpool's Champions League journey does not come to a premature end. There will be a time for decisions, negotiations, and announcements. But as Robertson himself emphasised, that time is not now. In the end, Andy Robertson left little room for doubt about where his priorities currently sit. At a time when speculation could easily become a distraction, he has instead chosen clarity and professionalism, placing full emphasis on Liverpool's immediate objectives rather than his own long-term future. With a defining European night on the horizon, that focus could prove crucial. Robertson's experience and leadership remain vital, particularly in high-pressure situations where composure is key. While uncertainty over his contract will continue to generate discussion in the background, it is unlikely to shift his mindset in the short term. The bigger picture will take shape in due course. Whether he extends his stay or moves on, that decision will come after the season's decisive moments have passed. For now, Robertson's message is simple: the future can wait. The present demands everything. But that is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for daily Liverpool content. We post all the latest Liverpool news every day, so join our fast-growing community so you never miss out. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video.